Okay, no, it isn't. Hi,
Oh,
everybody. Recruiting Animal here. The last show of 2021. As far as I know, it's going to be the last show. December 15th, 2021 is the date. I've got a guest here. I invited him to be the guest for the last show because he was the first guest for when we went video. And that's been a big thing. I just asked him what he learned this year, and I said, think about it. But one thing I learned is that I really enjoyed moving to video. It's been a lot of fun. We've also got a guy I call Ivan Gulenko, but he just told me his name is Ewan. Sounds like something out of Star Wars.
it
Ewan.
does.
Ewan Gulenko. But his favorite domain is Klang, Klang.so. That's an applicant tracking system he built himself. He's an IT recruiter and a programmer himself. So if you think that gives you a basis for trusting his know-how, go check it out. Klang.so. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I gave you an opportunity, Stephen, to tell us what you learned. You said at your age you don't learn anything. You don't learn anything anymore. That's okay. I'll ask you a question. Here's what I said was on my mind. A woman asked. She said, "What can I have a lot of problems when I, present an offer or when I talk about money. Period." She said, if I give them a range at the beginning, if I tell them the
Mhm.
full range of the salary, she said, it's always a problem at the end because they insist on the top of the range.
Yeah.
I believe that is a problem, but my feeling is uh, I don't like dicking around, okay, playing games. I'd rather give them the range and say, look, you might not get the top of the range. Face
Yeah.
it, okay, at the beginning. And there's a risk, though, that they'll get turned off and they won't want to deal with me at all. What's your
Yeah.
feeling about that? Now, I'll add something else. I'm verbose. But this guy, if I remember correctly, he believes in putting the salary on an ad. Am I right about that on the job ad? So
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
you believe, in my opinion, about being totally open. I want your feedback now.
Well, so for a bit of background, I never bid on things on eBay. I will buy it now, and if I see that no one else is bidding, I'll bid at the last minute and buy something. But as soon as you're competing to buy something, then you're paying an artificially inflated price. So when you're speaking with candidates and companies about salaries, what the candidate wants and what the company wants to pay, the old school way is look for a bit of overlap, that the company will pay up to this amount, the candidate will accept this amount. From the very first contact with candidates and employers, you're pre-closing, you're finding out where the limits are, and you're finding out, look, if the job is absolutely stellar, what's the least you would accept? And the same with the company. If the candidate is amazing, what's the most you will pay? So at every point, you're looking for those, but you don't want a candidate and an employer going into the room where they have no idea what's going to be offered or what the candidate will settle for, because it has to be doable. So a certain amount of haggling, I'd prefer to do it as a recruiter. I'd prefer to the person handling it, because people are typically bad negotiators for themselves, both companies and candidates. So pre-closing all the time, making sure you got a bit of
Okay, but
overlap
what you
and find the
said
number that
with
everyone's
that
happy with.
long answer, okay,
Yeah,
what you
yeah,
said really was get the company's the candidate's bottom line at the beginning before you send her out for an interview, and get
yeah,
the company's top end before you send anybody out to see them. Is that what you
yeah.
said? Yes or no?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
When
Remembering
you
also that when they go through the process, their thought process is thinking, I'm better than this job. They should pay me more than I was asking for originally, or I think I can get away with asking for more. Or the company sees the candidates and thinks, this guy's only earning such and such amount. We think we can get a bargain here. So you need to continually be revisiting the topic so that people aren't drifting from what their original stance was.
But those are both legitimate stances. The candidate,
Yeah,
once she sees the job, she can reassess. It's if in
yeah.
fact if she's giving you a number at the beginning,
Mm.
and she's thought about it, she should say, "Look, I'll throw out a number for you, but I can't guarantee I'm going to stick with it." Isn't it because I don't know anything about the job yet or the company?
And that's totally fair. That's totally fair. What I wouldn't want is a candidate going in having told me one number and going and tell the company something completely different without any context. If they say, look, this job looks great, but it's a lot more than I was expecting for this, my price would be X.
Ivan, you want to say something?
I'm also a fan of making the compensation like clear as fast as possible, because it's like removing more of this, let's say, problems in the beginning, right? That you then in the end cannot find, especially in markets where the salary range has a high deviation, right? In New York or London, it's like every developer gets approximately the same, and you have clear data online. So there's different websites that actually have very good information. Zurich is completely different. You have some companies pay like super little, other pay a lot. So there's like the data. There's no data, first of all, because
What
the
are you
market is so
telling
small.
me about answering that question? Should you give them the top of the range? That was the question we started out with.
Yeah, the answer is in markets like Zurich, where there's no data online, yes, even more you should give the data. In markets where it's less like that, where it's clear anyway what will be the compensation, you don't need to do that. So in which market are you recruiting, Stephen? Like in a big city or a more small city?
So I'm not recruiting at all right now. I haven't recruited for a number of years. So the advice that I give is based on experience from a while ago. So I wouldn't at all claim to be a current day recruiter who's making placements day in, day out.
Who the hell invited this guy if he's not a recruiter?
You know what? He's selling to recruiters. He's selling video consulting to recruiters. And I've known him for a while. He knows his stuff. I would if I had an agency, I would hire him tomorrow. Okay, at a senior level.
I'll hire him today if I can afford him.
Because he's got a personality that's suited for. He's as Rich Rosen would say, you got to have a thick skin. This guy has one, at least when it comes to business. Okay, politics might be another story. Okay, so now that you're here, the sales
Everybody
recruiter,
is thin-skinned about politics.
The
But I
sales
see you're in Scotland, right? You're in Scotland, so it's also a smaller market, correct?
Scotland is, but nowadays people are recruiting all over. So, you know, there are no boundaries anymore, or very few.
Okay, that's the salesrecruiter.com.
I do see we're all wearing
Michael
tartan,
G.
we're all
Cox.
wearing plaid. Aside from Ivan.
I've got some plaid, yeah. Okay, Michael G. Cox, the question, or I made a statement that this year I've sort of concretized my idea about giving out a range. Don't give out the middle of a range so you have wiggle room at the end. Tell them the entire range at the beginning. What do you say?
I do the same thing. I know some people don't like doing that, but I usually phrase it like, look, the only way you're going to get at the top end of this range, and I know you're completely focused in on this, and by now you've already forgotten the bottom end of this number. The only way you're going to get that is if you do perfectly and demonstrate that they
There he goes. Okay.
And you show them how to walk on water.
Okay. And
really
they love.
a good recruiter. What a good recruiter should do is coach both sides in the conversation. It's often the case the hiring manager or the person who's going to be making the offer is inexperienced, or at the very least, you want to know, how are you going to broach the subject? How are you going to bring this up? Because everyone's here for a job, for a salary, and the subject has to come up. Some people avoid any mention of money until the offer letter goes out. I say bring it up in the conversation.
You're not going to get to the offer letter if you don't cover this.
Yeah. So as a recruiter, I'd speak to the hiring manager and say, how do you typically cover this? How do you broach the subject? And what's the prep work and the things that you're taking into consideration when you're thinking about the salary? Because I want to know how they're going to do it, because I'll have a fair idea to how my candidate's going to respond to that. And as part of that, I can be helping with the pre-closing process to make sure it's a number and it's presented in a way that's going to be that's going to work with the candidate.
What does that mean, presented in a way that's going to work?
Hang on.
Well,
before that.
Yeah.
But you're covering the money question in your first conversation with a candidate anyway, before, or let's say at the very least before the candidate ever has contact with the client, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, but people don't work for free, and you'd be crazy to leave it to the last minute to bring in, because it's it's so important. But yeah, what I don't want is the situation where you've got an employer saying, like, I'm going to write a piece of paper, a number on a piece of paper and slide it across the table. That sort of stuff is baloney. We're all adults here. We can talk about money, and everyone's here to earn a salary. If someone is a hiring manager and they're not on payroll, they still know what their staff are being paid, and they still have the authority to offer 80, 100, 200,000 pounds or dollars or whatever it is. They've got a band within which they can offer someone a salary. So they need to be able to talk about it in a matter-of-fact way.
Okay, I want to come back to Michael G. Cox. Yeah. I didn't get to ask him. When you give them the top end, say this is the top end, but don't necessarily expect to get it, because you made it quite clear that nobody really wants to pay the top end. Walking on water is a miracle, okay? So what happens? You don't feel like you're turning them off by telling them? Does anybody back off once they hear that negative from you right at the start?
Yes.
Don't get so highfalutin. Don't think you're so great. That's essentially what you're telling them.
No, because usually I'll frame it like, look, one of the main things I want to have a conversation with you about in this first conversation is the company, the opportunity, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to make sure that the money is right before we ever even move forward. If it doesn't make sense, nothing else matters. So sometimes I'll even say, so let's cover that first. The compensation is this. It's going to be a 125 to 175. And you already forgot about 125 because I just mentioned 175 and that's all you care about now. But the only way you're going to get there is, and then I explain. Now, if you come back, if they come back to us and they make an offer at 150, I'm sure they're going to have really good reasons. And I don't want you to be offended. So if you were at a base salary at 125 to 150 and not 175, how upset are you going to be?
Okay, so there's another issue.
Michael, what you're saying there is you're anticipating the candidate to be upset. How upset are you going to be? Well, I suppose I would say, how delighted are you going to be? Because you're then putting the word upset into their mind. Oh, I'm really annoyed.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. My thing is I go after the negative and make it seem absurd. How pissed off are you going to be if you get an offer at 150, 155? Okay. And that would be awesome, depending, of course, on the on-target earnings, and then we cover that. But I'm trying to set it up to where it seems foolish for them to not consider 165 because I said 175. But the ones that are typically having a big issue with this are individuals that we can't afford for this position anyway. I had an individual recently that was coming out of the consulting world, and he was also doing new business generation for that. And this was a good fit, but for it to make sense, he would have had to have been at the max at 175 on a base and at the max on target for it to even make sense a little bit. So he was already just too big for the position.
Yeah, but let me raise that issue that I was going to raise, is that sometimes the client, when they see a fantastic person, they'll kick the money up. I've had it happen. It's not something regular, but it happens. Michael G. Cox, don't you think so?
Yeah.
Although maybe it would be a mistake.
Can always be found.
Yeah, well, yeah, but maybe it would be a mistake for a candidate to go into a company knowing that in order to please her, they're going to have to stretch. So the money's not really there. Maybe that's what
what's more common. So the banner salary that someone gets paid, their base salary, is often the thing that people focus on. But the cost of just taking the job, and it might be that you have to relocate, it might be that you have to drive or travel a lot more than you used to. It might be that in expenses you have to pour out a lot more money before you get money back. It might just be the awkwardness of the job or the difficulty of getting into the job or the number of hours that you're working. All of these things are factors. It might be the bonus, it might be the share options, any number of things are factors, but people get hung up on the base salary. And employers often, they don't want to upset the apple cart and hire someone on a higher salary than the team they already have. So
No.
rather than break their salary band rules that they have, these days, what's quite common is to bring someone in on the same salary that other people are earning, which is maybe not an amazing salary compared to what someone's on, but give them a signing on bonus. So a signing on bonus buys the candidate and gets them on board, but doesn't break their salary structure, whereby anyone in the team who
I think
finds
you can
out
get a
what you
signing
guys
bonus
getting.
to get hired as a burger flipper at McDonald's these
Yeah.
days. Ivan wanted to say something.
That Michael J. Cox, Michael G. Cox is really your way of speaking. It's like it has something hypnotic about it.
He's pretty good. Okay.
You'll do way
Come on.
well as a recruiter.
I think he's
I can
pretty
tell that. you're doing well
25
as a
years doing some of this stuff. So, hey,
No, I'm not even offended.
Oh man, I had a point. It's gone. But Stephen, you had mentioned that you can more money can be found, and I had a candidate who ended up receiving an offer for the same job at 175 base, another 25 guaranteed, and all these other nice little perks and niceties, and the client pulled the offer because this guy received an offer that was like 60K above what he had originally mentioned. So he was in the range, then he got the max, and then he got a guarantee. They're tickled pink about this guy, and then he gets the offer and sits on it for 3 days. They gave him everything, and he just sat on it. He wouldn't answer. What he was doing was waiting for other offers. So he didn't move.
Shopping it around.
Yeah, and they pulled the offer and said, "Screw this guy. If we do all of these things," and then he says, "I'll think about it."
You know when you're in McDonald's and you're standing in line and 3 or 4 people in front of you, you get to the one guy in front of you is waiting for his order, and he waits until he's at the front to look up at the board and decide what he's going to have today. And you think, for God's sake, you've been in the store for 20 minutes. It's McDonald's. Everyone knows what they're going to order.
It hasn't changed in 15 years.
And it's the same in hiring. By the time you get to the offer stage, you need to know in your mind when they say that number, it's a yes or it's a no. And if you don't say a yes or a no, then they are pretty clear that you're taking this to shop it around. If you're saying, I need to speak with my wife, I need to go and find out this, that, and the other, why didn't you do that already? Why have you not done it? Why are you waiting until this stage, until you start thinking about it? So yeah, 3 days is pretty tight, to be honest. But if you're saying, I need a week, oh, come on.
No.
Well, let me ask a question then. We're all friends here. Did Michael G. Cox make a mistake because he didn't cover that? Maybe he didn't. I have never done it. Say, look, once you get the offer, you better be ready to accept. There's no dilly-dallying or anything like that. Okay? Yes or no? Michael G. Cox, did you make a mistake? Should you have handled it differently?
Yeah, I could probably think about come up with 15 things that I could have done better.
I'm only asking one. Only asking one. Come on.
I did have the conversation, and I did make sure that he spoke with his wife, and he did receive the offer. I could have followed up with him faster. Hey, you got the offer. They told me. You happy? Let's go. I waited about a day to do that. And at that point, he was kind of waiting for other offers to come through to kind of compare.
Did you accuse him? Say, look, are you waiting for something else? Did you say that to him?
He told me I've got other interviews. Okay. I'm hoping that they'll make an offer. And I said, look, they're giving you everything and then some, way over your asking. You need to make a decision on this right now. Okay. And he didn't. So I was pissed off and happy to see it go also.
So the other thing I would throw into this is that in a candidate scarce market right now, companies will give more time for someone to make up their mind because they're wooing the candidate, they're chasing the candidate. If this candidate doesn't accept, do they have a backup? And of course, the person who's your number 2 candidate, you've told them, oh, they haven't made up their mind yet, when of course what's actually happened, they've offered someone, they're waiting for a
So Stephen O'Donnell's saying the candidate made a mistake, or no, the company made a mistake. They can't afford to, you know, they can't afford to be so dismissive, because there's just the way the market is. They have to expect something like this. Am I right?
That is correct also.
Yeah.
But
candidates are juggling multiple offers all the time. And,
yes.
So hold on. So
it's often the case that the job that you
should...
really want, the offer doesn't come in first from that. The offer you really want is coming next week.
Yeah. Okay.
So you need to
should
stall
Michael
everyone
G.
else.
Cox have said, look, Miss Hiring Manager or Ms. Hiring Manager, cool it. You have to be more patient. You can't get on your high horse in this market. Is that what he should have said to them? Michael G. Cox, you first. Should you have handled your client in a tougher way?
No.
Why not?
I did, because I did those things. Hey, I said, hey, Brent, we need to wait. I know he's going to choose you guys, but he was stuck, and to a certain extent, reasonably so. He was stuck at, we gave him way more. We even guaranteed commissions.
Yeah, but
and this guy's
reality,
hemming and hawing.
Brent, he could get maybe $100,000 more from somebody else. Let's wait and see.
No, he's not going to get a higher offer.
Said,
and he didn't.
You got to talk to these people all the way through. What would you have done with that client?
Who, me?
Steve. You, Stephen O'Donnell.
Well, so in any situation, you know that if you push too far, someone can walk away, whether it's a candidate or the employer. People can get to the limit and say, I've given you everything that you wanted, and you're not giving me a straight answer. So that's it, I'm out. Every negotiation, you want to take someone up to the line, but not over the line. Take them over the line, then even if you give a candidate too much and they accept and they start, the employer is thinking, oh, shit, we overpaid for that. Or the candidate, if they accept too little, they accept the job and they turn up and they start and they think, should have held out for more. Everyone second guesses themselves and thinks, did I get the best deal possible? Have I put myself over a barrel here? But you just got to encourage people to be adults.
Yeah, but you yourself, you're evading the issue. You yourself said in this market, you have to let them. You should have waited. So would you have gone back to your client and tried to discipline them?
What I would say to the client is that if this is if it's an important job to fill, then try and put in some deadlines on offers. Move the recruitment process faster.
No.
As quickly as you can.
There is no deadline. That was your point. The market's too hot.
Yeah,
you can't put those rigid.
But try and do things that make it seem that if the candidate doesn't accept, they might lose out on something great.
Ivan, got something to say? Any interest?
Generally, I don't like if there is this like, you have to accept within 3 days kind of thing, because at the end of the day, they should like check out other offers and then make the best decision. And if they don't take your client, then it's just how it is.
But what if
I don't like this pressure.
When I was in corporate, I used to build in a 3-day thing on all offers. If you can't make up a decision in 3 days, and this clearly isn't the right position, there's something that's holding you back, and we need to discuss what that thing is.
Big money.
Good point.
Big
okay,
money,
then this money doesn't make sense for you. I'm going to pull the offer. And I'm not playing games with you. I'm going to pull the offer. I need to move on with somebody else.
I'm the only
you're holding us up.
I'm the only one who learned a lesson from Stephen a minute ago. Go ahead, Stephen.
But as I was saying, in the run up to the offer, the pre-close is vital. It's about like the car salesman who says, if I can put you into this car for $500 a month, will you sign? Will you buy? And I'll then go and try and get that deal with my sales manager, that sort of thing. Those kind of negotiating tactics where you say, look, you said, Mr. Candidate, you want this, this, and this. If I can get you these things, will you say yes? Will you accept the offer? And again, with the client, you're doing the same in reverse. And you're making sure that the pre-close is there, and you're double checking at every point that they're not changing their mind and going back on it. And again, always saying, look, is there anything that we've not covered? Is there anything that's going to get between you and this job? Anything that's going to be a fly in the ointment? Anything that's going to stop this from happening? Because when an offer is made, they're going to look for an answer. If you don't have an answer ready, then we haven't covered everything. So let's cover it before we get to that point.
You see, I learned something
That's
in the show.
That's like a car sales technique, and I'm not using that in a negative sense, but it's very, very easy. And I did that with this guy. Hey man, you asked for these things. We got you these things. What's keeping you from moving forward today?
Yeah, but how about this, okay? You know, everybody's talking about the market today. It was raised already. There's a big competition. Everybody's going to get multiple offers. He just said that. The guest said that a few minutes ago. What about a recruiter who goes in and tells the client and the candidate, look, I know what the market's like. There's a good chance you're going to get multiple offers. There's a good chance our candidate, Ms. Client, is going to get multiple offers. We're just going to have to roll with it, okay? Let's not try to impose our. Yeah, no. Let's. I won't push them. Let them be sure.
In this situation, what I have done, when I've got a candidate getting multiple offers from clients of mine, so I know I'm getting a fee one way or the other. I've said to the candidate, look, this is not your preferred job, but if your preferred job doesn't come through, this is a great job to have. So the best job that you want, we won't know about until next week. So right now, a bird in the hand, accept this offer. And if you have to then apologize to them next week, that's what we'll do next week. So accept the offer. And you just have to explain yourself next week. A better offer came in.
See, that's what I meant by thick skin. I would be so ashamed if if my candidate took the job and screws off in a week. I couldn't advise him to do that. But that's maybe the right way.
I've done that.
Yeah.
I did the whole summary close. So we got you the base, we got you the guarantee, we got you this, we got you everything and then some. When are you going to be sending so you summarize everything, and then when would you be sending forward the signed offer letter? And please copy me. When can I expect that?
Because you're not asking if, you're just asking when he will do it, like assuming already that it's done. It's like perfect. Yeah. Like
because I'm summarizing everything that he asked for was exceeded in this case.
Yeah.
If it wasn't exceeded, you can still say, okay, it's kind of, there are two phases to this, like Stephen had alluded to a little while ago. Okay, if we get you this, we get you this, we get you this, you'll be ready to move forward. Yes. Okay, now we're at, we got you this, we got you this, we got you this. Those are the things that you were asking for. So you're good to move forward, correct? It's almost very assumptive as well.
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, I don't like assumptive closes.
I love them. Oh, can I say one other thing?
Go ahead.
So in this market, you will have candidates with multiple offers, and they know it. The employer knows it. Everyone is aware that these things are happening, and ghosting is absolutely a thing now, and especially where people are accepting jobs when they're not really accepting jobs. It's the bird in the hand, but the bird in the bush is coming next week. What employers absolutely must do is start the onboarding process halfway through the hiring process, get the team involved with the potential hire, get them along to any social events, get them on Zoom calls, send out equipment to them, do all that as if they're already part of the team, make it as if they're already part of the family, onboard them, get them on any training programs, anything that you can get them in so that they already feel part of it, so that they would feel bad in changing their mind and going off elsewhere after the offer's been accepted. So the onboarding process,
you make them feel obligated. That's psychologically obligated.
Make them feel both obligated and that they're in a big warm embrace from this new employer. So the onboarding process has to start early, and you can't say, if someone's got a month's notice to give, encourage them to move as fast as possible, or through that process, keep in contact regularly with them on regular calls, not just emails or text messages.
What do you say on those regular calls? There's people complaining. The hiring manager says, find me more people, keep this candidate warm. What are they? Hot cakes? I can't keep them warm. What does that mean? That's what you're talking about. Call them up. What are you going to say? How are the kids?
Hang on one sec. Just one of the things that you lose when you leave an organization is relationships, and the what Stephen is talking about is like you're already replacing the relationship. They're already building those relationships, so that would work great when you get, let's say, a new teammate or a future teammate, when they join the organization, this guy is part of your team, this individual calls you and says, hey, just wanted to give you a little preview, and they talk about something. And the manager, future manager calls, and maybe the VP calls. And so everybody's kind of laying the groundwork for when you walk in, you're already going to know us. We've already got a relationship. Let's go to lunch, things like that.
You know,
helps.
if I told a company to do that, they weren't prepared, and I say, you know, this is my expert in Glasgow told me to, you know, do this. I want you guys involved. I want the hiring manager. I want your VP. I want the other people on the team. And then the candidate accepts a job somewhere else. I would have egg on my face, right? I mean, I think it would still be right, but it would make the recruiter look very bad if it didn't seal the deal.
Wouldn't make you look bad at all. I tell you what, I'll try this. I've got a new
I'd rather try
client.
and be embarrassed than never have tried.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got a new client intake, and I'll kind of cover something like this with them in the call
Michael
today.
G.
and
Cox,
let you know
what
how it goes.
happened with that person? When was this story? What was the time frame on the story? The person who they blew off.
It was about about 3 weeks ago.
So what's happened now with that candidate?
He's gone. He went to go take something else, maybe.
But he's out. You're not maintaining contact with him to find out what happens.
Oh, I did find out what happens. He waited too long. He was hoping to receive these other offers within a quick time frame.
And what happened with those other offers? Do you know?
I don't care.
Sure, you should care, because you could bring him back to your client begging he said, I'm sorry, I want the job.
Nope.
Okay.
No.
You know what? I didn't mention any domain names, and I know it's because Stephen doesn't usually give me one. Do you want to give me a domain name for you, Stephen?
NoraUK.com.
Nora, N-O-R-A, UK.com. He runs the recruiting awards for Great Britain. Is that a fair term? Can I still say Great Britain? Is that?
Yes, the National Online Recruitment Awards. Actually,
Okay.
we're looking at having the Noras in the USA potentially next year.
Oh,
What would you
really?
call that?
Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, I've got some nominees, the guys who regularly come on the show.
Cool.
TheSalesRecruiter.com. Raise your hand, please. Michael G. Cox, Super Sales Recruiter. Klang.so. The IT recruiter in Zurich, Switzerland, who's also a programmer and designed his own applicant tracking system. Okay. And Rich Rosen says it's pretty good. Okay, now here's something related. I like the conversation today. What about this? When you're talking money at the beginning with the candidate, you say, look, how much would it, and she gives you a number, 150,000 or 150,000 package, whatever. And then you say, how much would it take to get you to accept a counteroffer from another company? Anybody?
Or a counteroffer from your own company.
No, from your own company, or to get an offer from another company. How much would it take, over that 150 you just gave me? Is that a reasonable question? I thought it was pretty good. I saw it on the Facebook.
Well, yeah. So you would have to expect that everyone who is being offered a job these days is going to be counter-offered by their current employer if they're good at what they do, because the current employer will know that it's more expensive to hire someone new than to hold on to someone that they're about to lose.
So you can ask them right away, how much would they have to offer you to make you kiss off that 150? Is that a reasonable good question?
Yeah, because you got to test the resolve to leave their company, and it might not be down to money. It might be that they hate any number of things about the current employer, or they're not getting what they're after.
Okay, I got a follow-up question for that. After they talk about money, you say, is there anything else besides money that could get you to change your mind? If that's hard to say until it actually comes, but maybe they could say, look, if they let me do this kind of work that I aspire to, I think that would be hard to get an answer.
I'm not disagreeing that those are interesting questions and probably good ones. I just don't know what I would do with the information. I like the fact that it introduces the topic of counter offers or other offers.
Okay, if I've offered you $150,000 and you're saying you'd leave for 200, if I can't hit that 200, you're out of here, right? So we know that in advance.
But I covered that when I spoke about the ranges and where you need to be, and does this make sense for you financially?
Okay. Ivan, if you're kind of quiet, I'm just letting you know. Feel free to interrupt. I can't worry about you. Okay, so just if you want to say something, just start waving your hand. Sometimes you do that, or just butt in like everybody else does. Talk over me. Okay. Is it worth getting
Talk
involved?
over you say.
Is it worth getting involved in a bidding war?
I wouldn't do that again.
Okay. I didn't even hear what you said, but I assumed you were making a joke about talking over me. What about bidding wars? Is it worth getting involved in a bidding war?
No.
Almost never. I said earlier on, I never bid on anything. Give me the price. I'll pay what the price is, or I won't. But I'm not going to bid on anything.
Yeah, but this is special. You've got a candidate. Let's say you're hiring. You've got a candidate. You know this person can do the job for you. You know it's a volatile market. Isn't that something that you have to budge? You're not bidding for something you don't really need on eBay. It's a different situation.
Well, yeah, but what I'm talking about is if you were an employer and you were competing with another employer or with the candidate's existing employer, and there was a back and forward on numbers, they're now bidding this much, they're now bidding that much. Can you match that? Can you go beyond that? I very quickly, I'd say I'm out. I'd put my best offer.
Why?
And if they
why? Why?
Because you're artificially inflating the price.
Okay, that's what you said before. Okay.
Yeah.
Michael G. Cox, got an opinion on bidding wars?
I would steer clear of that.
Okay. But when it came down to it, would you get involved, or absolutely not? Like Steven said, no.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would get involved because it's typically, in my experience, happening through the recruiter, because I'm having back channel conversations with the hiring manager and I'm having, or the owner of the company, and I'm having back channel conversations with the candidates. So it's a nice way to speak honestly with both sides without them offending each other. So
okay, but if you made an offer for 150, she comes back and says, "Look, my current employer did offer me 190. Will you try to go over that? Would you go back to your client and say,
sure.
Look,
hey, she's probably going to have to be, I know we were talking about 150. She's probably going to have to be at 190. Things have changed on her end. Is that something that's doable with you guys? I know that you guys have already been speaking with her and you really like her based on, and I kind of remind them, summarize the experience or whatever. And then, and I'm going kind of off the cuff here. I've never had to do this, but
how could
this
you
is
prove
what I would
that
do.
she really has an offer for 190? Isn't that a problem?
If no, I can't.
Is that a problem? Is that if Steven said that was his reason for saying no, that I can't prove that she could just be bluffing me. We're not playing poker.
She totally could, but that's the nature of the bluff. You don't know what she's holding. So you have to assume.
She's not allowed to show you a piece of paper, and pieces of paper can be manufactured.
Google asks people to show paper. They actually, I've seen a number of articles. They say, look, if you got a better offer, counter offer, you come and show it to me, okay? In writing.
Let me throw something in the mix here. So in the hiring process, I don't consider a resume or a CV to be a legally binding document where everything in it is the absolute gospel truth. In the same way as I don't expect a job description to be, legally binding. You've got two parties who are trying to market themselves and tease the other and make a deal. Equally, when someone says, well, we want you to bring in a document that proves that you've got an offer elsewhere. If that was me, I'd be on my PC generating a document that said exactly what I wanted it to say. And if they then later said, you showed us a fraudulent document. Yeah, what about it? You asked a stupid question, I give you a stupid answer.
Okay.
And to what end are they? So they ask for the other offer. Show it to me in paper.
Yeah.
To what end?
Let me speak to the other employer and let me confer with the other employer and verify that they have genuinely.
We'll bid each other out over the phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then you get arrested for having collusion or something like that, right? The number of companies, big companies, had that problem. Okay. Anything else about this theme that or I'm ready to move on? Anybody else want to talk? Raise an issue that I haven't thought of with regards to money? No?
No, move it on.
Okay. Ivan, do you have any pressing questions for the old timers? No? Okay. Do you want to tell us that we're wrong about something? That's always interesting as well. Okay.
Call us boomers at some point.
Okay. Okay.
I'm an Xer.
Business development. Chris said, don't try to sell them on the first call. Build a relationship. Now, this is Michael G. Cox's approach as well. I can't believe it's Stephen's approach. If you were doing business development, wouldn't you try to pick up an order on the first contact?
Getting an order is nice, but no, these days you can't accept to sign someone straight away. If you can get it, then great. But if someone's in a buying mood and giving out all the signals, then that's fantastic. But
what are you talking to? You got you on the phone. I'm a headhunter. Okay, I'd like to do business with you.
I think that first call is more about demonstrating that I can.
Well, first of all, you don't get people on the phone straight away. You can't phone up and canvass someone in the same way as you used to. You can't just make the call, kind of speak to the sales director. That just doesn't happen. You have to curry favor with them. You have to woo them by sending any number of emails and messages and LinkedIn contacts and so on. So all of that's been done in advance. So you're already warm by the time you get to speaking to them. And it might be an audio call, but it's probably going to be a video call. So you're still wooing them. You're still getting to know them. They want to know whether they want to deal with you and vice versa. And clearly you're in business to sign them as a client, and they know that. But you know, you're feeling each other up.
Okay, but that takes me to a cute. I just want to mention this because I thought it was a cute saying. You said, "Oh, you're not going to get them on the phone. You've got to send a number of emails and LinkedIn invitations and blah blah blah." This guy, the question then becomes, how many? This guy Kiva said, "I dial until my fingers bleed. If they get pissed off," he says, "if they get pissed off, they get pissed off. I just keep dialing." Is that your philosophy as well, Stephen? How many approaches will you make on a business development, and what's the frequency? Was it like once a week or once a month? What's the story there?
So I have done the dial till your fingers bleed, and if they never take my call, then I've not lost anything because they didn't take the call. So it was business I never had, and I was never going to get. But if
they might write on Twitter that Stephen O'Donnell is a scumbag.
Yeah. So nowadays you need to think about your reputation more carefully, and you know, softly catch a monkey. You have to woo them over. You have to share and demonstrate your expertise. You have to give them something before you get something.
What are you going to give them? That's what this guy said. Chris
knowledge,
said.
experience, expertise.
Well, what do you say? Hey, I want to tell you how great I am. He says, this is an idea I'm going to share with you that you could use in your next hire. Is that what you say? I'm or in an email. Hi, I want to prove to you I'm a somebody. Here's a tip that you can use. I'll bet you'll love it.
Yeah. I mean, my experience is by being more blunt than that in emails and conversations. So I'll say to someone, look, I want to win your business. I know you're dealing with this company, and I want you to stop using that company. I want you to start using me. But I know that to get there, we have to go through the process, and I'm willing to do everything it takes to get through that process. So I'll show you everything that I can. I'll share what knowledge I have, but ultimately I want to win your business over my competitors.
I like that, but what knowledge they're not, you don't know what knowledge they need. So what are you going to do?
Well, everyone
but you can provide a lot of insight. You can provide a lot of insight about the current hiring situation, what happened last year in the hiring situation, what you're seeing currently, and also what every other VP of sales is saying right now. And that insight is it's insight-based sales. You're educating more than you're selling. And
every conversation, every interaction that you have with candidates, with clients, with anyone in the marketplace gives you a three-dimensional picture of what's going on that your client just can't have. They can't have that perspective. So you know stuff that they don't. Frankly, you know where vacancies and candidates are going to become available before the market knows. You know when a company is going to be expanding or contracting, or they've got a new product coming to market. Now, not all of this information you can share because a lot of it's confidential, of course, but you have a perspective on the marketplace that they just don't have, they can't have. And you're in a position to share elements of that without,
Yeah, but
selling
how
the
are you
store.
sharing it? Are you sharing it in voicemail messages or unsolicited
Not
emails?
not in text. I would only share that kind of information in a conversation like this, either
So
on
when
the
you
phone
finally
or
got them on the phone, what would you say?
yeah.
Hey, Bill, I just want to tell you, I want to give you some information that you might not have. How would you
No.
introduce it? I want to hear what Steven says. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead. How would you
No,
introduce
I'd like to
that
see what
topic?
Michael's gonna say.
No, I'll get to him. We've still got some time. I want to hear what you say. You finally got this person on the phone, and now you want to demonstrate your expertise. How would you do that? How would you introduce it, and what would you say? Give me an example. If you say, I can't think of anything right now, it's okay.
So we've been on these calls before, and you've asked me to do the role playing things, and I've said get knotted. I'm not doing the role playing thing, so that's not happening.
Get knotted is probably a bad thing, right?
I don't know, but these English people, at least I don't understand what that means. Some of them say things that I don't really like, okay? And I take offense.
No, that's very
Michael G.
mild,
Cox
get
wanted to say he's got the answer for you, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, go on.
So we're all trying to be more consultative in our sales. Everybody prefers to hear that. And I'm not trying to disparage people that are in a transactional sales environment, because transactional, they make a lot of money. But the true nature of consultative sales is about providing your understanding of what's going on, and the insights will provide them with, oh yeah, as a matter of fact, that is what I'm dealing with. And
No, you didn't answer the question.
Okay.
You got the person on the phone finally. Ivan, I hope you're thinking of an answer to this as well, but you don't have to. Okay. You finally got Julie on the phone. Okay. She's the VP of sales who you want to. And so she says, okay, Michael G. Cox, I've got like 12 emails and LinkedIn invitations from you. You got 3 minutes. What do you want to tell me about? Or hi, what's up?
Okay. Yeah. So we can start with the fact that we know that you're currently hiring. I see that. How's that going? And if she doesn't want to answer that, what I'm currently seeing, what you're probably, I'd like to hear your opinion on this, but what you're probably seeing is your applications have dropped off significantly, right off a cliff. And so you got people that are no longer applying. You have recruiters that are heavily dependent upon posting a job and hoping the right person applies. That's not working these days either. InMail isn't working, and I kind of go through and in August we had over 4 million people that quit their job. Many of them didn't have that next job lined up. And in September, more people.
And she's going to tolerate this lecture?
Yes. In my experience, yes.
Ivan, do you have a comment? You don't have to.
And so I'm curious, are you seeing the same thing? Very interesting. Well, what I'm seeing that is currently working is highly engaged. So you're connecting with individuals, you're connecting with insight, and you're connecting with value and having conversations with them. And I've done that
what that means,
months ago.
We're going to go over. We've only got 10 minutes left. Ivan, do you have a comment?
I mean, I was actually surprised, like when I started this recruitment agency thing, like actually quite often I would get a question that was like, and then I would have to come up with something. I mean, then I noticed actually the bigger agencies, they do that like on a scaled way. So they produce like PDFs with, okay, this is the salary, market report of UK, So they really put this knowledge, or at least, some knowledge into like a document and then update it. And it's like they're like, let's say, proof that they really know the market. So yeah, you should be able to answer questions if the client asks about the market and elaborate.
The point is, they're not asking. These guys are going out there and saying, I want to demonstrate my expertise, okay? And I noticed Michael G. Cox didn't say, hey, Julie, I placed 10 of these people in the past year, okay? So I understand what's going on here, okay? And it's worth talking to me. I think Stephen is a little more direct when he says, look, I want your business.
When you're just pitching and talking about yourself, and it feels kind of icky and salesy.
Not to me. That's what you're going around. You're icky. You're talking about stuff like, like you're a professor to somebody who didn't ask to be your student.
Last week, got a call from a client, a prospective client. I'm having a intake conversation this afternoon, and I used this exact approach. I wasn't trying to sell, and we're talking about music and Austin city limits and all of that stuff. And then when it got down to brass tacks, I said, so I understand you guys are hiring. How's that going right now? Oh, very interesting. So what I'm seeing is these things, and I'm sure you're probably experiencing the same. By the way, they're so deep into what they're supposed to be focused on that they're probably not, but they're seeing like the lag effects, which is no pipeline, no candidates worth speaking with being presented to them from their internal sources, or even their external sources. And I'm kind of starting to explain why.
Okay, we'll come back to this in the new year. What I want to talk about is something that Stephen just reminded me about that I thought I'd be spending half the show on. We'll spend the last few minutes on it if there's something to say. And I'm going to relate it to what we've just been talking about. He's playing around with his video. He is cool. He's still working in the recruiting business. He's not a hands-on recruiter anymore, but he's consulting with recruiting agencies about video. Yes or no, Stephen? Am I right about that? Using video in the recruitment process? Yes or no?
Yes, busted.
Okay.
You got me.
Okay. So can video, I mean, I posted something that this week that said email's not really effective, and everybody challenged me on the article that they didn't do a big enough test. But let's say you're sending out these emails and LinkedIn invitations. I know Michael G. Cox is using video. He believes very effectively. How would you use video in those business development approaches? Would you use it now, like with this little guy on your shoulder, so that they could have a laugh at you, or?
So this is a bit of fun. This is little Stevie, but this is just to show, you can be daft or you can be serious with the use of video, and often you get better results when you show yourself up to be more silly than is expected, and it gets attention. So if I'm doing presentations online, I'll bring out this wee guy, and it gets a good effect. But let me give you some stats. I did work a couple of years ago with Video My Job. As a company who they basically give you the tools to, on your smartphone, make video job adverts. That's a primary purpose, but it's been used for lots of other purposes as well, for employer branding, for training, for onboarding, for any number of other things. But when Siemens used video to advertise vacancies, what they found was that a combination of factors created the measurable caliber of candidates who applied was 170% more greater than it was before when they used videos. Why? I'll tell you why. I'm glad you asked that. Well, two reasons. Two reasons. The first thing is that when you use video, candidates more accurately self-select themselves for applying to a job in the first place. They apply when they're certain that they're a good fit for the organization. Right now, well, maybe not so much right now, but it's very common that you'll people who'll apply on a whim. They're not that interested, but they'll send off an application, and the TA department are overwhelmed with too many applications of people who are not qualified, not suitable, and maybe not even that interested. So they get a lot of that. But when you use video, there's a lot less of that goes on because people more accurately match themselves to the job. Also, what happens is when you use video is that people apply who were never going to apply before because they had preconceived ideas about your organization, thinking that they were or weren't a good fit for that company. One of the other figures, one of the other figures goes to that, is that what they found is that for engineering positions, they had double the number of women applying compared to before when they didn't use video. And where that came from is when they had the hiring manager on screen talking about the job, the opportunity, the prospects, the kind of people they're looking for, and demonstrating the diversity of the people who work in the organization, then more women were seeing all of those things and picturing themselves in the job, picturing themselves working for or alongside this hiring manager and deciding this is a job for me. So they had twice as many women applying, and the caliber of candidates went up considerably. What they hadn't measured at that point was the difference in diverse candidates that were applying, but I would imagine that would follow a similar vein where you were getting people who were seeing...
Look, I never let anybody talk this much, just so you know. I've given you a chance. There's two things, okay? Yeah. So this means even an agency should push their clients to get involved with video. Okay, and
Absolutely.
I know Michael G. Cox uses Loom. It's an easy online.
I dumped Loom
That's
for
right.
Hippo Video because I got that lifetime deal.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm behind the times on your tools.
Yeah.
Okay, but what we were talking about, and I wanted to relate it to this, was business development. If you're sending those cold emails,
Yeah.
or cold approaches, aside from voicemail, what would you put on a video, or would you use video?
Absolutely. So I would try and get as creative as possible. You can use videos to send messages through LinkedIn. You can use video to respond to comments that people have on Facebook or Twitter or any other social platform. When you do that, then it's going to get more attention than otherwise. But even if you're just sending out a video message to someone saying, "Hi, it's me, Stephen O'Donnell. I'd really like to do business with you," then it's got a much better chance of being seen and responded to than a
You didn't answer the question, okay? I said, what would you put a video link into these emails that unsolicited emails that you're sending to someone you want to work with? That's question number one. Number two, what would be in those? So would it be you talking just like you're talking to me and saying, look, I would like to do business with you. Give me a chance to demonstrate my expertise on the phone. Is that what you would say essentially?
Yes, but you would tailor the content to be relevant to them. So, you talk about the type of the industry that you're in, how much you know about the industry, and demonstrate your expertise. But yes, in an email, if you're sending an email, obviously you can't embed the video in the email, but you would have a thumbnail of, say, a picture of me like this, and when they click on that thumbnail, it opens up the video in Vimeo or YouTube or whatever other platform that you've got that's not going to be seen by the world and his wife. So you can send that where the thumbnail leads to
the world and his wife. Michael G. Cox, you've got 2 minutes to tell me what you, maybe it's too late. You use the videos, right, in your cold emails?
Yes.
What goes in them?
So I just sent an example for the candidate side. So you can check that out. Basically,
yeah, but that's different. You've got a job to present, so you got content that's given to you by the by your client. What about the client? That's what we've been talking.
Yeah, on the client, I don't use it as much because they're not really clicking away and spending 3 minutes to watch me.
Okay, but I got a feeling it could be good. Ivan, any comment on that?
I don't know. I think written content is faster to consume. So great written content beats video, in my opinion. Although I get it, it's more engaging, yada yada and stuff. I don't know. It's just,
yeah,
I think back in, when speaking to the client, I'd be telling the client that I intend to market your vacancies by video.
Oh, that's an interesting.
That sells well for sure.
Yeah, that's I said all this consultative stuff that you guys have been talking about is not very impressive, but that's impressive because they don't know anything about that. Just like Michael G. Cox said, they're too busy. But I'm the video expert, the job video expert, the job marketing video expert, and I'll be doing that for no charge at all. It's just part of the package of working with me. Okay. You know what? I think this is a little different than the regular recruiting animal conversation because I let people talk a bit more than I usually do. But I've enjoyed it. Anything you want to say, Stephen O'Donnell? Final words?
No, just contact me anywhere on social media. You'll find me, but LinkedIn especially. Hit me up.
Okay, Stephen. That's STEPHENO''DONNELL. Last week, the people on the show were calling him Stefan. I don't know what's wrong with them. Okay. TheSalesRecruiter.com. Michael G. Cox, this is the last. I'm going to give us 2 weeks off, but should we have a show next week of just regulars talking about how to improve the show? Yeah.
No, not about that, but yeah, just the regulars would be great.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll put it up then. I can't remember what else I wanted to say. Klang.so. I gave him 2 free ads right now. Okay. And Nora, what's your URL? Nora something.
NoraUK.com.
NoraUK.com.
What are you going to call it when you jump the pond?
Nora USA.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.